Hey everyone, we are going to get started on the next unit. So you got this note packet before all this happened. If not, there is blank copies of the homework. Then there's completed notes on the Canvas calendar. So use whatever you need. You'll need your note packet. You'll need a calculator. Now I know some of you don't have one, but if you turn your phone sideways, then you're going to need this button that says log. And then if you actually do have a calculator, then we will be going through and using the log button, which is right over here by the 7. So I'll go through and explain both methods just so you can kind of get an idea of what we're doing. So you need to flip to this first page, and we are going to go through and talk about these different forms. So to get started, what is a log? Well, it's this guy right here. So log is a function itself. It's one whole word. You can't separate it. And then a lot of people get the the L and O confused as the number 10. So just be very careful when you're writing it. So what they get is log base B of A is equal to X. Oh, sorry. All right. So this is called logarithmic form. It has a log. Exponential form means that there will be no log. Okay. So this one will be rewritten as B to the X is equal to A. Okay, so we're just going to practice going through and rewriting these. So I'm just going to go over here and do it on a separate sheet of paper. Okay, so for example, number 1, we have log base 3 of 9 is equal to 2. So when it asks you to rewrite it, what you're going to do is you're going to take your base 3 and it becomes the base to the 2. So you're going to get 3 squared. It will be equal to 9. So you notice when you're rewriting it, my log disappears. And then you can go through and simplify it, but this is all they're asking you to do is rewrite it in exponential form. Okay, so let's look at number 3. On number 3, we have log base 7 of 1 is equal to 0. You take your base 7 and it becomes the base to your 0, and you get 7 to the 0 is equal to 1. And once again, all you're doing is rewriting it, you're done. Okay, here's number 5, where you have log base 4 of 1/16 is equal to -2. You rewrite it. Base 4 becomes your base to your -2 and is equal to 1 over 16. That's it. Now for the next part, you're going to go in the opposite direction. They want you to convert it from exponential form to logarithmic. So here's a couple pieces of advice. Your two big numbers will go on the same side and your exponent will go on the opposite. Your 14 is a base, so it will be the base right here. 14 is a large number, 196 is a large number, so it's going to be log base 14 of 196 is equal to 2. Two big numbers on the same side, exponent on the opposite. And this right here is your final answer. Same thing, number 9, we have 12 to the first is equal to 12. 12 right here is your base, so it's going to become the base of your log. 12 is a big number, 12 is a big number. So you get log base 12 of 12 is equal to 1. All right, and then one more example. You have 2 to the -3 is equal to 1/8. 2 is your base, so you get log base 2 of 1/8. 2 and 1/8 are your big numbers, and that's going to equal -3. I would recommend going through and trying some of your evens. If not, you can try it on the practice. All right, so flip your page. So we have something called a common logarithm. So common logarithm means that you have base 10. So when you look at all the examples, you have a base 7, a base 3, and then you have something right here that doesn't have a base. So if you see something that has, hang on, I'll write this out. If I just have log of x, this is the same thing as saying I have log base 10 of x. They mean the same thing. So whatever reason, mathematicians are super lazy, so they don't write the 10. And then if you were to look into your calculator, if you hit that log button that I told you about, it just types in log without that base 10. It automatically assumes it's a base 10. All right, so they want you to go through and evaluate. So what does that mean? For evaluate, you're actually going to go through and find out what x is equal to. Okay, so if we look at number 13, we have log base 7 of 49. So step 1, what you're going to do is you're going to set it equal to x. Easy enough. Step 2, if I'm trying to evaluate it, that means I can't have this log here if possible. So I can rewrite this. I'm going to take my 7, it becomes my base to the x, and you're going to get 7 to the x is equal to 49. So now we need to figure out 7 to what exponent equals 49? So there's two ways you can do this. You can rewrite 49 so it has base 7, or if we know 7 squared is the same thing as 49, right? So it means x in this case has to equal 2. So let's try that again, make sure we get the idea of it. So on number 15, we have log of 100. Once again, this is called a common log, and you can write in this base 10 if it makes more sense or you need to see it. Once again, step 1, you set it equal to x. Step 2, I'm going to rewrite it. You're going to get 10 to the x is equal to 100. And now you need to figure out 10 to which exponent will make it 100. And we know 10 squared is the same thing as 100. So x, once again, is equal to 2. Let's look at number 16. On number 16, we have log base 12 of 1. And we're trying to evaluate it. Step 1, we set it equal to x. Step 2, we rewrite it. And you're going to get 12 to the x is equal to 1. Now this one is tricky because I'm not multiplying 12 by anything. You're raising it to an exponent. So this is one I want you to put a star by, because the only way that this equals 1 is if my exponent is a 0. Because 12, or anything raised to the 0 power, has to equal 1. So if I do 12 to the 0, it's 1. But if I do 150 raised to the 0, it still equals 1. So that's how I know that x needs to be 0. There's really no shortcut to it. That's just the easiest way to figure it out. Okay, let's try number 17. We have log base 2 of 64 is equal to x. So once again, step 1, write step equal to x. Step 2, you have your base 2, and it's going to become 2 to the x is equal to 64. Now, there's a couple ways that you can try and figure it out. Guess and check and start doing 2 to the first, 2 to the second. You could also break down your 64. We know 64 is 8 and 8, and then 4 and 2, 2 and 2, 4 and 2, 2 and 2. You could count how many 2's there are. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's how I know x would have to be equal to 6. Or you could go through and guess and check with your calculator. Okay, so the next part is very important, and it's all based off the calculator that you have available to you. Now, I talked with Christy Morgan, and you might see eventually that there's going to be a TI graphing calculator like this as one of the apps that are listed on your Chromebooks. So that means you'll all have access to it. It's just, it's not loading right now. So as soon as we can get that figured out, then I will let you know. But your phone will work if you don't have a Chromebook or a calculator to do it. All right, so the last thing that we're going to talk about today is something called change of base. Okay, so change of base only needs to be used when you don't have a calculator like this, okay? So change of base means that I want to evaluate this by plugging it into my calculator, but this means that my base is not equal to 10. Your calculator only does base 10, like we said here. So if I were to do this and you have your 10, oops, your log, no number, but it's only 10. But if you looked at all the examples that we did previously, we had ones that weren't base 10. So we need to figure out how to do that. This can be rewritten as log of A divided by log of B. Now, if you don't have a calculator and you're using your phone, you have to use this one. If you have a graphing calculator like mine, then you should be able to plug it in the opposite direction, okay? So let's look at number 21, and I'll show you both ways. We have log base 16 of 64. They still want you to evaluate. You could go through and set this equal to x and do what we previously did, or you can use something called your change of base formula. So I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to do log, and then a was your big number, and 64 matches that. And then you're going to divide it by your base, which is 16. Now, these logs don't cancel out because it's attached to your 64 and your 16, so it means they're grouped together. And all you're going to do is plug this right into your calculator as you see it. So I'm going to do log 64, and it's really important that you close that parenthesis. Let me see if I can zoom in, okay? And I'm going to divide it by log of 16, and there's my answer. It's 1.5. So for my answer here, I would say equals 1.5, and that's all I have to do, okay? Easy. If you're using a graphing calculator and you have access to this, there's also another way you could do this, okay? So what you do is you hit alpha window, and then you'll see right here you have log base. This allows you to plug in it as you see it. So I do 16 of 64 and I get the same answer. So depending on the technology that's available to you will depend on how you have to do this one. If your calculator allows you to put in this base, and you can plug it straight into the calculator, like so. And if not, you have to do it the first way. Okay, so same rules apply for doing it on your phone. So let's see if I can get this to work. Oh, terrible glare, sorry. All right, so if I were to do log, whoops. So you have to do 64 first, then hit your log, and you're going to divide that by 16 log, and then hit enter. So once again, how I did this is I did 64 log divided by 16 log, enter. And that's how I got my answer of 1.5. So this is how you can do it on your phone if you are, or if you don't have a calculator, which most of you always borrow mine. All right, so I'll show you both ways again. So for 23, I have log base 2 of 54. So if I don't have a graphing calculator, then I would rewrite it as log 52 over log of 2. And you would plug it in like so. So do log 52, close the parenthesis, divide by log 2, close the parenthesis, and I got 5.7004. You always round to 4 decimal places if possible. And if you can't, like 1.5, I couldn't add more zeros, so that's okay. You just need to make sure that when possible, you have your 4 decimals. Okay, option 2 is you go to alpha window number 5. I guess I can write that down for you. Okay, and then you type in your 2 and your 52 to get the same answer. Okay, so if you were to then pull up your homework or flip the page, all it does right here is it tells you to evaluate. I showed you the 2 different methods of doing it. You could plug all of these straight into your calculator if you wanted to, but I do recommend actually going through and doing some of them like we did this way, only because it will help you tremendously in a few more lessons when we get there. All right, so I just went through mostly all the odds. If you need me to go through more, I'll be more than happy to. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Other than that, I hope you guys are doing well, and I hope you guys don't feel like this, but here's my dog, Leia. I'm not very good at this camera. There she is. I put her to sleep, so hopefully I don't do the same to you. All right, guys. Talk to you later.